Whoa, okay, so let's stay awkward. No, that's not what I want. Hi, I'm live. I am doing livey things. Let me just share this out. June live stream. Come say hi. Forgive me, there's no one watching right now anyway, so I don't feel bad taking up the first 5 minutes of this trying to do this in live time. June live show happening right now. Come ask some questions. No, I don't. That's not the that's not the preview that should be there. Why is Matt showing up? He's not even here. He's not even here. I should turn that off. I'm sorry. Okay, let's make this more interesting. Hello, everyone that's watching. There's 2 people that have clicked on the little play button here. I have this issue every single time. I want to push this over to Facebook, but it always has the month previous thumbnail on there, and I don't understand why it's there. It's weird. Hello, Stuart. I think this might be the first time that you have watched me live, possibly, question mark? Not sure. Please leave some questions down in the comments, though. I want this to be more of a question and answer period for the next 30-ish minutes it's gonna be happening for. My stream health is not doing so hot right now, so let me close some tabs. I'm sure that clicking is really great on your ears. Close, close, close. All right. Perfect. So thank you for stopping by. I do this once every month, and I like to try and do some fun things with the viewers and all that sort of thing. This is kind of a spur of the moment because I know I'm not going to have time to do a live show for the next few weeks. I have a little bit of time right now that I could do this, so we're going to do it right now. Let me tell you about my day first of all, because this is classic me. I'm trying to think way into the future. So I have a bunch of videos that I have planned, scripts written, and I had filmed one yesterday. And today, being so proactive because I'm about to go on vacation here in a couple weeks, I'm like, great, what I'm going to do is I'm going to film these 4 videos that I need to get done. I'm just going to pound them out, film these 4 videos, have them ready. So what am I going to do? I'm going to go into my camera card. I'm going to reformat my camera card in preparation to do this. And so, great. I put it into my camera. I say, reformat this card. And then, of course, that is the exact moment that I realize I did not import yesterday's video onto my computer yet. So, dummy me erased everything that I did yesterday in preparation for the stuff that I need to get done today. So it wasn't the biggest deal in the world. I did really like how the filming turned out yesterday, and I always have it in my mind, I should just import this as soon as it comes available. As soon as I'm done filming, I should just import it directly onto my computer. Never do, because it's just something I think about, feel good about, that I've made this good decision, and then don't do anything to actually enact it. So anyways, lost everything that I did yesterday, which is very, very frustrating. So I just refilmed that again today, which I think I hit about 80 to 85% of the mark that I wanted to, but hopefully it all works out. I also, the 4 videos I filmed, I don't know if anyone was watching here a few months ago. I made a video about Canadian history specifically, and Canadian history is something that I personally find kind of fascinating. Even Canadians don't find Canadian history fascinating for the most part, but I tend to. So I decided to make it this kind of mini-series of Canadian history videos for the month of July. So I filmed all of those today. And actually, I use this as my as my prop, who I've named him Pierre in reference to one of Canada's most well-known prime ministers, Mr. Pierre Trudeau. So my little beaver here gets to be in my video, and that's who I talk to, because that's how I spend my days, talking with stuffed beavers. It's a Canadian pastime, that, donuts, poutine, and stuffed beavers. It's a thing. Oh, Dean. Hi, Dean. And Chris is here, too. Yes, Chris, I actually found a stuffed beaver. Someone actually had this taxidermied beaver that they were willing to give to me, and I was like, not really the mood that I'm looking for. Not quite the I don't know, the milieu that I want to go with, but regardless. So to update everyone on some things that are going to happen in the background here that I want to get to. Number one, I filled out this accreditation. I cannot pronounce this word. Accreditation form. So if you don't know, here in Calgary, there's this thing called the Calgary Stampede that happens every year. I'm never sure, for those people outside of Calgary or even Western Canada, how much you know about the Calgary Stampede. We proclaim it to be like the greatest outdoor show on earth, but I think past maybe the state that's right underneath Alberta, Montana. Outside of Montana, I don't know how much it actually gets into the United States. So this is essentially, what you want to think about this is, it's a big rodeo. It's a big outdoor rodeo with a midway and games and all this fair food. So if you've ever gone to a state fair down in the U.S., it's going to be a very similar thing. It's because it happens for 10 days in a row. High stakes rodeo, fair food, blah, 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 all this kind of stuff. Anyways, because it's like the biggest thing inside of Calgary, brings in so many different tourists, pumps so much money into the city. I was like, that would be cool, is if we could get a group of like Calgary YouTubers to be there and be kind of like the media and do vlogging and interviews and all that kind of stuff. I'm actually wearing the YouTube Calgary t-shirt here today. I don't know how well that's showing up on camera, but so I applied for it. My guess is that this is going to go nowhere, to be frank. But that is what I'm trying to do. Is that I'm trying to get it prepared so that I get media access, where I can go like behind the scenes, interview other people, and that sort of thing as well. If people could do me a favor, because I'm having issues here on my end. If you want to like tweet or Facebook out the fact that I'm doing a live show, that would be very beneficial. And I would thank you and give you kisses forever. Probably not. I don't want to get a restraining order. What else is going on? Well, VidCon is... What is the date here right now? VidCon is starting on the 21st. So it's about 10 days away. It's 10 days away from VidCon. I don't know if anyone who is watching knows what VidCon is. This is its 8th year that's being put on. It happens in Anaheim, down in California. And it's this celebration of online video. So any of the big names you will probably recognize, any of the people that you might like to watch on YouTube, probably have some sort of... not statement, but they're going to be there, or they're going to have representation there at the very, very least. So I've gone every single year. Let me tell you about the very first year, because as a big fan of the Vlogbrothers, John and Hank Green, who began this conference, they really started very, very small and very, very intimate. And so when I'm still into YouTube, but I was like obsessed with YouTube back in like from 2005 to about 2010. And in 2010, I had a broken computer for a while, so I wasn't able to like watch YouTube because I didn't even have a smartphone back then, like a big pleb. I kind of on a whim bought tickets. I got my computer back, I turned it on. One of the videos that Hank had just posted was like, hey, we're doing this thing called VidCon down in Anaheim. I'm like, I'm going to do it. I'm on a whim. I'm actually going to go and buy tickets for it. And so I bought them. I went down by myself. I didn't know a single person there. And this was still with me being like so nervous. I couldn't talk to anybody. And I tried to do my best, which was not very good. 2,000 people. There was 2,000 people at that very first event. We were at the bottom of this hotel, in this basement of a hotel. And there was no security. There, you could go up to pretty much anyone. And this is, as obsessed as I was, apparently I didn't know some of like the biggest names because I was standing next to them or sitting next to them during conferences and literally had no idea who they were, which would not happen nowadays at all. But it was this really, really great time. Like it felt like you were just spending a weekend with some of your best internet friends, which is kind of this one-way street many, many times. But still, you felt involved with the community, and it was really, really, really fun. So I decided I'd go back every year afterwards. And I've had friends that I've met there and developed relationships with. It's really a really cool event. Just this awesome display of excess of online video. Really great time. It has grown to such a degree. It fills the entire Anaheim Convention Center now with 3 or 4 different levels of things going on at the same time. This huge trade floor where there's live stuff going on and contests and prizes and guest talks and free swag being sent out and like on-the-spot concerts. There is so much stuff going on, and part of that is because as YouTube gets bigger, these little niches start to pop up so that you have people that are there because they want to meet their favorite beauty vlogger, or they're coming there because they want to develop a great style for short films that they want to get into, or they want to understand like the best idea for sound in their videos, or they simply just want to go and get like autographs or give gifts to their favorite YouTubers. It's kind of can be different things for different people, which is pretty cool. But it has gotten bigger, and probably I forget if it was year 4 or 5. I think it was year 4 that I went. That was the weirdest year because that is when you could really see how YouTube had switched over into the mainstream, where this was like people going there, thinking of these people as celebrities, and it was really jarring for me because for many years, I respected a lot of these people and what they were doing, but I never once thought that they were, I don't know, elevated above me to such a degree where I would like freak out or anything like that. So that was the year where there was just, I'm going to pick on women, although it was not just women, but because they just call it like the Fangirl Problem. That was like the code word that they gave to it, where there'd be these screaming and this horde of people just rushing forward, like almost trampling over other people on their way to try and, touch the locks of hair of a guy that they liked online, who was most probably British and had like a little swoopy fringe thing going on the head. That's probably who they were trying to go after. And that was an odd year. And to their credit, what I've really respected about VidCon and the people behind it and the people that run it is they really, really listen to feedback that is given to them. So even though it has made the divide between viewer and creator much more pronounced, it is a safer convention for that, where you can't just start running and grabbing onto people. There's like designated times where you can go and get signings. There's designated times where you can go and have these meet and greets with people instead of people feeling unsafe because these hordes of people are like bumping into them and pushing them out of the way, sort of thing. But VidCon is a great time. It also gives me the excuse, because the Anaheim Convention Center is literally right across the road from Disneyland. I get to go to Disneyland as well. So I don't know how many of you watching have been to Disneyland. That's A. And B, I don't know if any of you watching even care about Disneyland all that much, but I do. We did the first 2 years of VidCon were in the basement of this hotel, a bit south from Anaheim, and every single one since then has been in the Anaheim Convention Center. And because of that, because it was closer, that year 3 is when I decided I was going to go to Disney for the very first time. So I would have been, Oh gosh, I'm trying to think. 5 years ago, so I would have been like late 20s, like 26 or 27 or something like that at the time. And going to Disney for the first time, I'm sure it is super magical as a child, and as a kid, it's what I always wanted to do. There was nothing more that I wanted to have happen than my parents to come home and tell me, "Hey, you get to go to Disneyland." And I would like get freaked out as if Oprah had just given me a car. And instead, my very first time going to Disneyland was when I was in my late 20s. But still, the most magical of experiences to me. Like just going into there and being in like the downtown Disney area, but then going into the actual park and hearing the music and seeing the characters and the smell of food and seeing the attractions you only seen on film before is just like overwhelming. Like I had this really special moment where like I welled up because I was so excited to finally actually be there. So Disney always holds like a very special place in my heart. I always try and do a few different things each year, but honestly, it's like the churros, the Cars ride, Indiana Jones, Pirates. Like those are my four big Star Tours. Star Tours is a great ride to jump in on. There's just so many great things that you can do. So there is that. No one has posted any questions here in the chat as of yet, so I'm just going to keep trying to talk to fill in at least like 5 more minutes of time to try and make this worth your time, or at least worth somebody's time. I don't know whose time this is really worth at all. Tonight is a very cool, special night for me because it is the Tony Awards. I have been a fan of Broadway for a great many years. Specifically, I know when it started because I was in elementary school and my music teacher, as kind of a lesson, brought in the cast album of Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. And so we used that as a basis for learning about, like, I don't know, fundamentals of music and, like, harmony and different styles. Because in that musical, there's a calypso song, there's, like, a country-ish song, there's pop songs, all that kind of stuff. And from there, I listened to this, and I don't know what it was. I honestly don't know why. It's just the way that I was wired. I don't know if it was nature or nurture in this case, but something in my mind just, like, fizzled and went flipped over to the point where it's like, what is this new music that you're giving to me? What is this new thing that I didn't really know existed? Of course, I understood that there was like Disney musicals and that people would sing and dance in, but I didn't really, I don't think, understand that there was stage, like live stage shows you could go to see people sing and dance as well. Because I was a dumb kid. What can I say? And lived in a very small town in Alberta, Canada. So from that point on, when I fell in love with that musical specifically, I started to like push myself out, and this is me in my formative years and into my teenager years. I was not the person like buying punk records or heavy metal or even rock music. Stuff that I can appreciate now for sure, but what I was going after when I went to the record store, we actually took a trip into like the bigger city of Red Deer to go and actually go to a music store, I was obsessed by going to the Broadway show section, which was usually just like 2 like little tiny rows that always had like the same things, that sort of thing. And so I just quested and tried to find different things and discovered like Phantom of the Opera, which was like another Andrew Lloyd Webber musical, as was the Technicolor Dreamcoat, and classic ones like Camelot and My Fair Lady, and that sort of thing. And then in my late teenage years, I decided to join the theater club. This was not drama, where I was actually up on stage. Theater club in my school was we actually took a trip to the big city of Edmonton and actually watched performances. Like, I forget if it was like 5 or 6 throughout the entire school year. A few plays and a couple of musicals each time. And this is where I saw a production of Into the Woods and loved it. Like, fell in love with this musical. discovered who was written and composed by, which was Stephen Sondheim, and thus began my love affair with Stephen Sondheim, who is my favorite composer of all time. Let me see if I can find it. I have a lot of books behind me, as you can see. This is volume 1. He's actually written a second one it's called Finishing the Hat, and it's actually all of his lyrics. So the volume 1 goes from 1954 to 1981, and then the second volume goes from, I think, 1982 to present day, because he's still alive and actually is still working on a musical as we speak, which I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but it will probably be his last musical that he writes. What Sondheim does, and he's not for everyone, is that he really gets into there and tinkers around with the music, where you'll have a melody and then sometimes he'll like invert it or play it backwards, and has these really neat turns of phrases. I just like his lyrics speak so much to me, and every time I go back to revisit some of his older work, there's something else that pops out that is now relevant to my everyday life. This is not about Stephen Sondheim, though. I could go on about him for hours if need be. I only learned when I went into university that there was this award called the Tony. And the Tony Awards help recognize the best of Broadway. And so those awards are on tonight. It's my favorite awards show every year, because as much as I do watch occasionally the Emmy Awards, and every year I do watch the Oscars. The Oscars are their own like big beast that I enjoy, but it is not a great award show usually. There can be good moments, but not a great award show. Whereas the Tony Awards is like the best award show, because everyone, because of how small of a community it is, everyone is so excited to be there. And the speeches, when someone wins, like they're crying and they're bawling and they're like just so happy, because these are people that nobody knew about until like 2 weeks ago, or like 2 months ago it could be. Or you have these old Broadway actresses and actors who have just put in such amazing work year after year, finally being recognized. You get some song and dance numbers. It's just a really great night. Always runs under time. It's just so much fun. There's some comments in here. I like what Stuart says. It says, "Do you ever have any downtime?" As in laying around and doing nothing. It seems that you're always busy. I agree that I do have downtime. Like, I mean, even today I was watching some Kimmy Schmidt as I was like eating lunch and stuff like that. The thing about it, Stuart, and everyone else that's watching, is that this probably is a good video that I could make one day, so I won't go into too much detail. But there was a good 8-year period of my life where all I did was do nothing. Where I didn't try and pursue any artistic pursuits. I didn't write. I didn't make videos. I didn't make podcasts. I didn't try and create anything. I thought that just wasn't something I would ever be good at. And so I didn't even try. And so I think I've been playing catch up ever since in 2010 I decided to actually start creating stuff, where now it's like I need to create stuff, and I feel if I sit around and do nothing for any small amount of time, I feel like I'm wasting my life. And I was like, okay, I watched 20 minutes of a thing, I'm off to go and do something else, or I have to go and do this thing. I never like to have too much downtime because I feel like I'm wasting time. Will, in the comments says, "I did a directed study of Sondheim in college. Is Into the Woods your favorite, or do you have a different favorite?" This is a good question for Sondheim, because I think my favorites always change. I still say that Into the Woods is probably my favorite, only because there's some great stuff in there. It's interesting because Sondheim never had children, but I think that he understands growing up in young adulthood so well, and having that perspective as a child and as an adult. There's a song that's Into the Woods. There's a song from Into the Woods, sorry, that has these two people talking about children and how children are the only thing that grow up from something you love to something that you lose. And I think that's such a heartbreaking line. There's also this great lyric from Into the Woods where they talk about moments. It's like these moments in the woods, because the woods are essentially this allegory for life, going through hardships and stuff like that. And it's like, man, I wish like my life was made of moments. And then there's a song that goes, and I was like, oh yeah, if life were only moments, even now and then a bad one. But if life were only moments, then you'd never know you had one. And I always think that that's such a great lyric too, that it's like, yeah, you're right. There has to be those in-betweens. Everything can't be this great, amazing experience, or else those great, amazing experiences wouldn't matter so much. So anyways, that's good. Yes, Will, I also know Sunny in the Park with George, which I also love. Finishing the Hat actually comes from Sunny in the Park with George. That's what that is. Finishing the Hat is a cool song, but actually my favorite song from that one is, oh my gosh, Move On. Move On is the song from Sunny in the Park with George, which you have to move on as a creative artist, where you have to be like, when you create something, you can't just wallow around in it for too long. You have to kind of move on and go to your next thing. So I kind of, as you can see, kind of take inspiration from that as well. But even his older stuff, like Company, is a great show that I didn't really like the first time I listened to it, but now as a 30-year-old, understand why Company is so good. Because it's all about young adulthood and being like, you know what, you don't have to be married to be an important person in society. But then all the other stuff that goes on in there too. I have a soft spot, of course, for like West Side Story, and even in Gypsy from his earlier career. But even Assassins, which he wrote right after Into the Woods, is this really cool story that got into a lot of trouble because this is the people who have assassinated presidents all in a musical, singing songs about, hey, if it wasn't for us, then America wouldn't be as great as it was. So it's an interesting thesis that's going on with Assassins, which is cool. Anyways, that's that. The Tonys are tonight, which is going to be really, really fun. Yeah, the revival of Company is great, William. I agree. There's so much good stuff there. Ingo says that calling Broadway a small community is kind of funny. It is funny. I mean, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. But I mean, if you take a look at, say, like films or Hollywood, that encompasses more than just like 5 blocks of New York City. Is kind of what I'm trying to get across there. Stuart asks, do you ever do community theater acting? I've thought about it. I don't think I'm a good actor, though. I don't think I would be very good up on stage. I do probably would do well in certain settings, but then I'd have to go through like an audition process, and I just don't think that that's my strong suit at all. That's why I pursued doing like one-man shows. I've done 2 essentially one-man show things over the last couple of years, where I just rent out a theater, invite some people to come, and do that type of thing. I don't know if that's ever gone all that well either, but I have fun doing it, and I like performing on stage. But I can't sing, I can't dance, and I'm not that great of an actor, really, or at least my range is fairly limited. So it's something that I've really pursued. I find my better talents are suited for like writing and offering insight that way. JC, yeah, I got a question. I told my stepsister not to eat the last slice of my French banana toaster strudel, but she did. Should I leak her nudes? Probably not. That's a bad thing to do, and that would be a bad that you'd be a bad person for that. So don't be a jerk, JC. Be a good person. Cool. So I've been blabbing at you for almost 30 minutes. So I thank you everyone for deciding to push play on this live stream. Hopefully you found some sort of value out of it. I was trying to get a special guest, and that kind of fell through at the very last moment. So you had to stick with me for the last little bit. Maybe next time we can talk more about Sondheim in detail. And I actually 2 live shows ago I said I would show you my process of editing videos. So I should probably fulfill that promise at some point as well. If you don't know, I do have a Patreon, so if you want to help support me making more videos and making better produced videos, you can definitely do that by going over to Patreon, the Kyle Marshall. And then what else? You can click like and subscribe and blah, 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 all that good stuff if you haven't done that already anymore. And then hopefully make sure the Sondheim is when I'm not working. I'll try and do my best. I'm trying to do live shows on weekends, because that usually means that more people can watch. I used to do them whenever I could make it work, and now I'm really trying to make sure that it's a weekend that it happens on. So hopefully, beginning of July, we'll see another one of these. I feel like I'm circling the drain here. I'm blabbing. I'm going to watch the Tony Awards tonight. If you want to see me live tweet that, you can follow me on Twitter because I'll be doing that as well. Other than that, thank you for hanging out for the last few minutes. And we'll see you probably in a few days. Yep. All right. Have a good one.